1, 2, 3.
Why did I come here? What am I searching for?
Well, hopefully you came here for X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
Who are you?
I am your host, Skelhorn. And there's another host of this show, like me.
But unlike you, I must keep my emotions in check, lest my powers rage out of control.
That's true.
Well,
he does. He does.
I heard
his emotions in check.
I heard a rumor that you had the Rona. I mean, should I be prepared? Should I be prepared? Should I cover?
No, I'm feeling great now. I felt bad for one day.
One whole day?
Yeah, one whole day.
Well, then you realize that it's all a government conspiracy and doesn't really exist? I'll do your research, people.
Of course.
I'm going to send you some websites. I'm kidding. I'm not one of those. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing better. Hi, Millie. That's a Millie. Is that Millie?
Yes, it is.
Oh, she's getting big.
Yeah, she's getting a little bigger.
Hey, Millie, she's like a full-grown cat now. I love the look of quiet, like just acceptance cats have when you pick them up and just ragdoll them around like that. They're just like,
there's like, I don't hate it, but I feel like I should be mad.
This is where I am now.
But my co-host, Carl Lycondre.
Hey, welcome to the show.
A doctor.
Good to be here. I did not have power last week. I am the reason, once again, that we didn't have a show. I apologize. Hurricane Fiona really messed up my area.
I kept my power somehow. And I thought
you didn't lose power at all?
No.
You son of a gun.
Yeah. I mean, everyone around me did. Like,
is that a deal with the devil? How'd you manage that?
I guess. I don't remember doing it, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
You could have quietly.
I feel like a devil could wipe my memory of such a thing afterwards. So I guess we never really know about those types of things.
Interesting.
Well, hold on one second. Let's have a segment.
Oh, a segment.
Oh, we love a segment here.
We do love us a good segment.
Catching up with Andre and Davan because it's been a couple of weeks. The X-Goons were probably worried. You know,
I'm sure they were
hitting their beloved hosts and all. We fought Fiona as only the X-Men can.
That's right. There's various blasts and of energy, mostly of power lines going down. But I guess it did happen. I was without power for a week, pretty much. It went out Friday night, fairly late, and then I don't know, 10 something, and then it came back Friday, the following Friday, but a week later, the following Friday in the afternoon. So I'm on a well because I live in the country, so I didn't have power, and therefore I did not have water. So I had to go out and procure water throughout the week to flush our toilets and drink and whatnot in our home. So it was a rustic way of living for a week.
Oh, I kind of lied, actually. I did suffer some hardship. So our
power did you lose a precious tree?
I lost some sunflowers, but our power did flicker for like half a second at night, so I did have to reset all the clocks.
Oh my God! How did you survive,
Let's
sir?
just
how are you?
Maybe have a moment of silence for that.
For Davan's clock resetting time. Yes, it's very important. I'm sorry you had to go through that terrible tragedy, Davan.
Quite inconvenient.
It wasn't
not
fun.
how I wanted to spend my morning.
It wasn't fun, but it gave me a lot of excuses to stay home and drink all day, which is great.
That's not bad.
One of my favorite pastimes.
Yeah. So, anything else about the hurricane or your acting? Why were we late today?
Because I was on another film set doing background for a show called Moonshine. They film out here. It's a Canadian show. Fun side fact: Daniel Radcliffe's girlfriend works on the show. Erin Brake, I think is her name. They've been together for a long time. And I was speaking with her, and I asked if there was any truth to the idea that Daniel Radcliffe would be Wolverine, and she said yes, he already signed the thing. Just Marvel can't announce it yet. So
what?
No, I'm kidding. I totally made that up.
I thought you had like the greatest scoop of all time.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I highly doubt Daniel Radcliffe's girlfriend could.
I'm just being
Reveal
nonchalant about it too. You're
to
just like,
some
oh yeah, and so I'm
rando-
gonna about to break the internet here. And,
It's some rando background actor that's just hanging around, you know, like, you know, on
they
set.
thought you were. They thought you
No.
were trustworthy.
I don't even think I saw her based on the photo I'm looking of her. I'm pretty sure I didn't see her on the show.
Thanks, Sam.
But she does work on the show. I just didn't think I saw her there today. Her name's Erin Dark.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, working on that. Just doing background. I can't really say anything, but it was fun. I look like a lumberjack, and therefore I was selected to be there. That's why I'm wearing my lumberjack outfit today. Yeah, I literally just ran in the door with seconds to spare to get here in time, which I think we're still a minute late. I apologize once again. I'm a terrible human being.
Well, you know, the ex-goons and I were gonna blame you anyway.
Well, it's rightfully so. I am a piece of shit.
Well, you know, you're not that bad. Let's
Piece of shit.
At least an animal that has pleasant shit.
And I should be treated accordingly. Like a rabbit. It's just like a pellet. It's not too hard.
Yeah, like a pellet.
Pellet. Pellet. That's a nice thing anyone's ever said to me.
Piece of pellet shit.
Right. Well, I think a rabbit's too hard, so
God.
I gotta scale that down a bit.
Catching up with me, I had COVID. Baby had COVID. Wasn't the best week.
The baby had the Rona?
Yeah, she took it well.
Did you give the
She
baby
just-
the Rona?
I figure she gave it to me.
How? Did she go to
She
daycare?
goes to yeah.
Oh, then yeah, she may be giving it to you.
Yeah, but there's a question from there. Will I ever consider cutting my hair? Well,
Well, why does that matter?
I'm somewhat forced to cut it every now and then. It gets too long, and then bring it back to here.
I think you should, you have the kind of hair that'll just keep going if you let it go.
Oh yeah.
It won't stop at any point on its own.
Well, it slows down probably, but like it gets pretty long before it does.
Yeah, you should let her go. Let her run.
Yeah,
Let her go
well,
free. Born free as the wind blows, as free as the grass grows. All right.
That was pretty, Andre.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I'm not the best singer in the world, but if I sing low, it tends to work out a little better. God shuffled his feet.
Did we mention that we're here to review Season 3, Episode 12? Okay. Oh, I didn't change that. Okay, so here's a question. This was going to be my X point.
Savage Land, Savage Heart was the name of the episode.
It was, but if you look on the internet, like
it says Strange Heart. I know.
It says Strange Heart everywhere. Why? Why does it do that?
Also, there's some other little weird snafus. Being that this is supposed to be in the correct order, I think there's something in this episode that implies it's not. Did you catch that too?
What's that? No. What? Say that again?
Disney has supposed to rearrange these to be in the proper order, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe, based on a line of dialogue in this episode is where it should originally be.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Save that for the X points.
Okay.
But yeah, so Savage Land, Strange Heart. I can't even say it.
Savage Land,
Season
Savage
3.
Heart.
Thank you.
According to Disney Plus.
Yes.
That's what the episode is called on the episode, and I believe in the title card.
In the credits, yeah, that's why I changed
the title
it.
card actually says that as well. So when on the episode itself, when you see it appear on the screen, the title of the episode, it says Savage Land, Savage Heart, Part 1.
Written by Marty Eisenberg and Robert N. Skier. Maybe we should have one of them on the show to tell us what the episode is called.
There's also a guy who's executive producer in the show called, I just saw his name, because I've started scrubbing through the episodes when I'm doing my recaps. I find it easier just looking at some other things because sometimes it gives me some more interesting information, and also sometimes it sparks things that I may not remember it offhand. But there's a guy whose last name is Calamari, which I think is great.
Calamari.
You don't meet a lot of calamaris in your travels. Yeah, Savage Land, Savage Heart, Part 1.
At a restaurant, you do.
Well, he's usually doesn't have the first name Joseph Calamari. The executive producers are Stanley Avi Arid and Joseph Calamari, and it's literally spelled the same as the dish you would eat at a restaurant, which I thought was fun. So, produced and directed by Larry Harris, story consultant Bob Harris as well, or Larry. It's developed for television by Eric Lewald. All the great stuff. So we open in.
No, we don't.
Oh,
previously,
there actually isn't one of these in this episode.
No.
They don't do it previously on X-Men in this episode. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, wow. So it's even more important that I do one.
Sure, if you think so.
Hey, thanks, kid. You're okay.
I'm counting on you to keep this big shot on his toes after I'm gone.
Oops. Millie, you made me press the wrong button.
You blaming your
Millie's.
cat?
Yes, she's trying to destroy my hero clicks.
Think we'll see him again?
I can only hope.
That was the previously on X-Men.
I can only hope. Very nice.
Exactly.
Hope's all we got sometimes.
Yep.
Anyway, so here we are in this episode. It is Savage Land Savage Chart, and we open up with a battle going on between basically the force of Sauron, who appear to be mind-controlled people, natives of the Savage Land riding dinosaurs, versus non-mind-controlled people of the Savage Land being led by Khazar. Apparently, Shanna the She-Devil is nowhere to be found and is never referenced, so I'm not sure what happened to her between the last episode and this one, but she is not present. So during this battle, Sauron's flying around. He has mind-controlled minions also flying on pterodactyls, which I find is kind of interesting. If you look like a pterodactyl, and I know he isn't one, but he has his people flying around on pterodactyls, which, I mean, I guess the branding's on point. It just seems kind of strange. Like if I were a werewolf, would my minions be wolves? I guess. Just seems strange.
Yeah, you'd have a pack.
So Khazar and his people are shooting, catapults at the castle, which was formerly Mr. Sinister's castle, as we saw at the end of the episode with him in season 2.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Taken over by Sauron. A few references to some old stuff in this episode, which is nice. Throwing spears, basically attacking. Nobody, of course, is getting killed. We never see that on the show. But Khazar's men are doing quite well against the force of Sauron. As the battle progresses, Sauron feels himself getting weaker and says, "Oh no, not now," basically, and then flies back into his kingdom to go to his throne. As you kind of see his form starting to devolve a little bit, like his wings become shorter, his head spike gets lesser, and he's sort of maligning that this shouldn't be happening right now, but it is. And as he's weak and kind of falls down, Khazar appears, ready to do a death blow, basically killing Sauron. But before he can do so, he is shot with a beam by somebody else and is knocked unconscious. The beam, of course, being shot by. Do you have some dialogue here? Zaladane. Her name is Zaladane.
Yes, I have a picture of her.
Yes. Oh yes, look at that rooster mane. I love that.
Yeah. She kind of looks
like
like
a character
that guy
from the
Black
comics.
Talon.
She does not look familiar to me. Is she a character from the comics?
I think she is.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of people in the Savage Land.
I don't see any reference to that on this, but
no,
she could be. She could be. Just might not be.
She just looks familiar, and maybe it's just from this episode.
Well, I can always do a quick Google search and then talk about it like this at a long length, so that I can cover the fact that I'm Googling it. Yes, she is a character, Zaladane, High Priestess of the Petrified Man, the Sun God worship of the Sun People.
Yeah, she was in the
Earth 616.
Yep.
Yeah, although it's spelled differently in different ways. Zaladane being 2 words and then sometimes being 1 word. But yes, she is featured prominently in stories regarding the Savage Land, so it's very much on brand here, which is good. So Khazar's knocked unconscious. She basically tells Sauron she's aware of what he is, because as she talks to him, his form devolves further and he becomes a human being.
Garokk doesn't exist. He is a fairy tale made up to scare children.
Once again, not even close to that point yet. But she starts leading Sauron out a secret passage out of the castle. Announces she's aware that his powers come from absorbing the powers of other mutants. He's kind of surprised she knows this information, but he goes along with her because she's offering a way out. As they're heading on their way out, he basically finishes his de-evolution back into a human being, who he says himself his name is Karl Lycos. But before we get to that point, that's what you just mentioned. She says that she is a priestess of the
High Priestess of Garokk.
Garokk, which sounds like a Cleon name. He was considered a god in the Savage Land. This comes up several times, and it's even said that it was told to us before, which it wasn't, which I always hate, because the Wolverine's like, I'll get to that later. So basically, this priestess says that Sauron doubts that Garokk is even real. The priestess shows him like a necklace that has the image of this, which kind of looks like the Easter Island heads, which is representing the sun god that is supposedly prisoned within the land of the Savage Land. He doesn't really believe, but he's happy to go along with it because she's leading him to freedom. Then he devolves fully into Karlikos, who seems like a normal, rational human being who it's almost like a split personality thing. He's not aware or not in control of what Sauron does. But now that there are no more mutants in the Savage Land, I'm guessing they had left, or the mutates that Magneto created must have left, or had their powers absorbed by Sauron. I'm not sure, but
maybe the mutates don't count.
That's possible, but he would have gotten power from some mutants at some point. So as she leads him out the back door, he revolves back into Karlikos. She offers him the ship Magneto had arrived in the Savage Land on, and offers it to him to go wherever he needs to go. Basically saying that
For your recent tyranny, Khazar and his fall people will hunt you down and destroy you. You must flee.
Offering the ship
because he's just like, I can just like leave now because like I'm just Karlikos again, but she's like, no, they're gonna kill you anyway.
Yes, which is interesting because there's a little more weirdness to that as well. She gives him a necklace that has the image of Garokk on it, and then he somehow knows how to fly this futuristic aircraft with ease. He just presses a few buttons, selects on the location he wants to go to, and then goes. Did you notice some of the locations on that list? No. If you did not, that is fine. I'm going to bring it up a little later.
All right.
There's only one really. I'll name the other ones. See, this is good because these are X points, and I always assume you have these. So
I think I got that one. I'll look at my X points when we get there.
So there's Los Angeles, Houston, New York, and another location which I will not name until my X point. However, New York he selects, and then the ship to New York City he selects.
No,
and the ship autopilots off to New York.
Interesting.
Well, we get a nice little view of the ship flying into New York, basically. After that, well, we do see her talking to one of the statues of Garokk that's eyes alight, implying that he's not just a passive god or not non-existent. He may actually be a presence on the island. So then we cut to New York City, which we see a nice banner that says New York City Comic-Con, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Enough said.
All right, that was going to be one of my X points, so I'll erase that.
No, that's fine. You can bring it up if you want.
I got extras.
We can expand on it.
I figured that one would be taken or like come up anyway.
I just thought it was fun. So then we cut to basically, I'm guessing it's Central Park, in which I'm not aware that you're allowed just to ride horses through Central Park, but apparently it's something you're capable of doing in New York City if you want to. We see Rogue and Storm riding horses for pleasure throughout the park. Rogue, of course, is wearing a very...
I'll take riding over flying any day.
At your pace, Rogue, I'm surprised you can tell the difference.
I find the way her voice is any day kind of strange.
She's really enjoying this horse riding.
Rogue is all cowboyed up, basically, or cowgirled up, I suppose.
Which is funny. Like, if you can fly, is riding a horse even that fun anymore?
I can't imagine it would be better than flying. If you could fly. Do you see that new Black Panther trailer with fucking Namor flying around those little ankle wings? His little ankle wings. It looks so awesome. I can't wait. I'm so happy to see Namor in a movie. I'm so happy.
Me too. I've been looking.
And it looks like he's going to be more the way he's referenced in some of the writing. He's more of an anti-hero than the true villain. So,
kind of what he is.
Yeah, which I'm excited to see him depicted. And I like to see a whole lot more of him because I always love Namor. I love cocky asshole characters, especially ones that are still good guys, but just are so like annoyed by other people that they can't like hide their annoyance. It's great. Like that's why I like Quicksilver. It's why I like that character as well. But anyway, of course, Storm is wearing the traditional riding outfit you would wear in a more modern setting with the short brim cap that acts as a helmet as well. With the little bow tie thing. So yeah, they're just chatting. Rogue says that Storm should learn to let loose a little more. Storm says that she has trouble doing that because her powers have to be kept in check, otherwise disastrous consequences can occur. Which is something that's never been mentioned before. Yeah, which somehow Rogue misses the similarity. But of course, this is something that's going to be important later. But Storm has never said before that her powers could overwhelm her or become out of her control if she doesn't keep them in check.
Well, I'm going to talk about that later.
Okay, probably related to the comics, and you being a resident Storm expert, you would be the one to address that for sure.
Could be when that's coming.
So Rogue, says that she's got to let loose, got to figure that out, then takes off, letting loose on her own horse. Storm watches her, and then in a brief moment of letting her, freak flag fly, for lack of a better term, she takes her head off, swirls it around, and kicks off her horse as well. We cut to Mr. Lycos, who now looks very much like a homeless man. He's, instead of just wearing the ripped up pants and nothing else, he now has a ripped up jacket and a ripped up shirt. He's trying to absorb some of the energy of what I thought would have been just a regular dude mutant walking through the subway. We learn a little later that his powers are he needs a life force taken, and I don't know if it sucks that you just live shorter because he takes it, or if it's just it's like blood, it'll come back, but for a while he needs to absorb energy from living creatures to stay alive. And if he takes it, so any human will do, but if he takes it from a mutant, then he becomes Sauron. Yeah. Which is interesting. So he's in the subway taking energy from Mirando to sustain himself. You see the guy get back up, so he's okay because we want to make sure he's not dead. We can't show that in this cartoon. But Carl does seem to be a decent fellow who doesn't like that he has to do this to survive. So he wanders down the street, just kind of questioning what he's going to do with his life now and why he even came here. And then we cut to some fun. I'm sure you have some fun sound bites of three of our
Why the
intrepid
foreboding
X-Men.
countenance? Staring at skeletons makes me nervous.
Well, it makes me bored.
The three X-Men who are checking out the wonders of the Cretaceous at the museum and looking at skeletons of dinosaurs, which is funny because they can literally go and have been in the Savage Land and seen actual dinosaurs. But they're looking at skeletons of which seems way more that's why would you bother going to a museum?
Well, it's
Jurassic
clearly
Park
Beast's
was real.
idea.
Yeah, but if Jurassic Park was real, why would you go to look at animal skeletons in the museum? You can go see the animals.
True. It's a little more dangerous. Well, oh, no, never mind. Jurassic Park was incredibly dangerous. I'm not even going to finish the sentence I was going to say there.
In episodes 1, 4, the parks themselves fall apart, causing chaos, and then the repercussions are seen in 2, 3, 5, and I guess 6, which I haven't seen yet. I've been putting it off because it didn't look that interesting, but I do want to see it someday.
How about the Guggenheim for the Magritte exhibit? How about a chili dog with the works?
Last one, there's a fossilized canary.
Yeah, she made a joke about that a little earlier. It's nice seeing them in their civvies, although Beast is wearing his what I like to call his Raphael in disguise in Ninja Turtles 1, where you just wear a hat and a trench coat, and that's enough to hide your hulking frame.
The Thing does that all the time too. It's well known that a trench coat can hide anything.
I also find
any
it kind
form.
of interesting with Beast coloring that he wears blue tights. I know they're a little darker than the rest of his costume, but it's like me wearing skin tight pants, like skin colored pants. It just seems strange. Anywho, they go into the street. Beast wants to go into the Guggenheim. Wolverine notices the chili dog. He goes over to get one, basically. Lycos, who is passing the street when this is occurring, is sensing the energy of their do you have the Beast clip he says here where they run off here the chili dogs, and he says it's a Shakespeare quote. He says it's like a sharp tooth.
No, I was gonna talk about it later.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. We'll say that for your point then too. So Beast has a little quote from Shakespeare here. Lycos senses their energy and is sort of drawn, compelled without being able to help. Although we do see his amulet glowing as well, which indicates that may be some part of why he's unable to control himself here. But he there's a bit of, and I complained about this a lot in the past, but a bit of just because in this. Not as much as sometimes, but a bit of just because.
I think he's being controlled by Garokk.
Yes, but that's never implicitly stated in this episode. But this is the part 1, so it could be in part 2. I
think that's what you're supposed to get from the glowing Garokk.
Yeah, but there's stuff he does after this, which we'll get to as well.
Yeah.
So he comes up, he falls on his knees and begs for help, basically in front of Wolverine. Wolverine thinks he's just a homeless guy, and he's basically ready to give him money to help him out, which is very sweet on Wolverine's part.
Mm-hmm.
But then Lycos grabs him by the head and starts absorbing his energy. If you'll notice, I don't need to make this an X point, but the guy selling hot dogs for some reason has an eye patch and looks very much like if you just I noticed it in the frame and just going through it, I just saw it again. It looks very much like Nick Fury. Like Nick Fury might be hanging out there and just selling hot dogs on his off hours, or maybe he's spying on the X-Men or something. But he's wearing
funny.
It's probably just a thing, but like, why bother throwing an eye patch on the hot dog vendor? Like, you only see him for like
a
split
Nick Fury
second.
fan.
And he's wearing a t-shirt. Like, I can send you a screen cap of it. But yeah, like he's wearing a t-shirt that says weenie on it too, which is funny. It's spelled WEENEE with a little hot dog dude with a hat. Some of this graphic design stuff that you kind of notice in these old cartoons is really funny. So Lycos absorbing Wolverine's some of his energy, and of course, Beast leaps to help, kicks Lycos off him. Jubilee and them run into Beast, cut him up.
Sauron is reborn!
We get a cool little transformation of Sauron becoming lizard lips, as it were, which is kind of neat. I like those. This is actually a really cool animation sequence where you see the camera spins around him. As you see his tail growing out the back, his wings coming out, his shirt ripping away, and him fully becoming Sauron again, with the eyes still glowing on the. It's kind of neat. It's a neat little transformation sequence, which is cool. It's very cinematic looking. It's almost
animation's really good in this episode. Actually,
it is. It's the A team, as we call them. I believe you can really tell the differences, but. So they try to stop him, but he flies off. Basically, Beast calls the X-Men saying they need help to go after this new threat. Coincidentally, Rogue and Storm are still in the park and notice him flying over.
Rogue, Storm, we have a problem. I believe the appropriate aphorism is a blast from the past.
I thought that was funny. He doesn't bother telling them what the actual threat is because he just wants to be poetic instead.
Yeah, but also use like a fairly rudimentary term, like something that Mod is kind of off brand for him. Like there's definitely a better term for a super intelligent character to use than blast from the past.
Because that can mean anything from their past.
Well, exactly. It could be Magneto, it could be Apocalypse, it could be anything. He doesn't actually say anything else. He literally just says there's like a threat nearby.
Yeah.
And then runs off.
Not helpful, Beast.
No, I mean, whatever. It's just funny. I just find it funny that like sometimes Beast is a certain way and sometimes he's not. I guess he's supposed to also have a sense of humor. And maybe that's the case. But perhaps when Wolverine was just attacked and there's now a giant anthropomorphic pterodactyl flying through the city, or pterodon, whatever it's called now, might not be the time to make those jokes. So anyway, I'm sending you a picture of the Wiener Man just for your edification, so the viewers can see his countenance, as Beast would put it. And he does even say that word in the episode, which I thought was really funny. Instead of just saying why do you look so sad or perplexed, he's like, why the sorrowful countenance, and then later on shoots out with the blast from the past line, which I think is funny. All right,
why the trees? Why the stars? Why anything?
Why anything? What's it all? As a line I often quote. I don't quote lines from Austin Powers very often, but often I'll quote this one. Whoop-de-doo, what does it all mean, Basil?
What does it all mean?
What does it all mean, Basil?
Yeah, he just wasn't listening to Basil.
Not at all. He's just totally just waiting for him to sum it up for him. Yeah. So, Storm sees him flying overhead, does that really cool transformation sequence where her outfit turns into the Storm outfit, which is funny because we get two similar transformation sequences really close to each other. And this Storm one, I don't think we've seen since the first episode of the show, have we?
Yeah.
I don't think
it's been a while.
Whoops. Why are you in here twice?
I didn't mean to do that.
Oh dear God! I got two Davins. To quote The Simpsons, I'm seeing double here. 4 Davins.
I was trying to load up your image.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, you can if you can do it, but we do. Yeah, I don't think we've seen her transform in this manner since the first episode. But then she transforms, flies off. Rogue continues to help the horse, I think.
But I agree with you. It was going to be an X point of mine. It's the second time we've seen her costume powers.
Okay, I'm sorry if I'm stealing all these on you today.
No. I got lots because I knew I was getting some obvious stuff here.
I want to make a couple notes here because there's some stuff that I would like to reference later. Although I'd like to draw attention to a friend of mine got married this past weekend, and he provided me with this as the gift since I was his best man and part of the wedding party. It is a space pen. It's like the ones. It's got my name on. I can write upside down. Exactly. I can write underwater. Apparently, with it, there's a lot of little nifty little.
It's an astronaut pen. I can't believe you took his pen.
I can't believe you took that pen. Take the pen, Gary. Take the pen.
Take the pen.
There were a lot of jokes made about that during the build up to the wedding itself, which is funny.
Oh, that was a great episode.
I'm gonna write this. I want to write that. I think I have enough X points without this one, so maybe I'll just say it. As he's flying through the city, we see him fly by a window, which shows a couple comic creators. It seems to be working in a studio. I'm wholly guessing that these are supposed to be people working on the show based on their appearance. One appears to be African American with black hair and a beard. The other one appears to kind of look like what I'm guessing Eric DeWald may have looked like or Leewald would have looked like at this point, but it may be somebody else. And they noticed Sauron fly by and Storm fly by, so I definitely think this is some kind of a little tribute to some of the people on the show. So you spend a little more time on them than you probably would. Yeah, I think you might be onto something with the Sauron being controlled by the amulet, or at least getting ideas about what to do.
Zaladane, but
one or the other, because he's flying, and then the thing starts flashing, and then he stops and turns around and notices Storm, and it's almost like the necklace told him to do it, just the way it's animated. But Storm recognized him right away, of course, from her tangling with him before during the fight with Mr. Sinister. So she shoots. You must have this dialogue to use since you have all the Storm dialogue.
Open your mind to me.
This is Storm dialogue. So Storm calls the winter winds to shoot ice on him.
No, I didn't get that one. I should have.
Which doesn't seem to hurt him all that much, considering they use cold to hurt him later. But we'll get to that as we go. So Rogue flies in, of course, and then she starts to be mind controlled by Sauron using his abilities that we've established before. She is under his power. She sees Storm as some kind of a witch, a
weather witch.
Several points throughout this episode, she's referred to as a weather witch by Sauron and by Zaladane, and so that's going to come up later. So seeing her appear to be a witch, Rogue attacks her. Storm recovers and kind of makes a whirlwind, which sucks the two of them up into it. The other X-Men who now arrive sort of caution that she should be careful where she's throwing them. Beast manages to catch Rogue. Or is getting ready to catch Rogue, but then Rogue sees Wolverine. Wolverine looks naked too, and this is funny. She sees Beast, Wolverine, and Jubilee as enemies as well due to the influence of Sauron. So she kind of swoops down and attacks at them. They duck for cover. They all kind of look like various kind of strange monsters. Storm lets them know that she's under her control. But as that happens, basically Sauron comes up, uses mind control powers on Storm, who tries to resist, but is unsuccessful. So as she starts to plummet, so she falls. Sauron catches her. Basically flies off with her. Beast jumps over a tree, climbs on, throws his jacket over Rogue's head. So the jacket was important, basically, as she's flying around, still kind of possessed, and makes her land in the water, which brings her back to normality, which apparently is what it takes to shake Sauron's influence. Is it duck him in water? So as
sincerest apologies, Rogue, but to employ a time-honored cliche, you'll thank me for this.
Yeah, see, he's all about the cliches today.
He is. Yeah.
So then Sauron makes the ship his escape vehicle basically busts out of the ground, jumps in it with a sleep Storm, and flies off, kind of disrupting Jubilee and Wolverine, who are coming in to help. Wolverine notices the direction he's going in, southbound. Do you have that?
No.
It says like 3 guesses where they're going, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So he can pretty much assume they're heading back to the Savage Land. We cut to the X-Men now back in their costumes, getting ready to go off to the Savage Land. And this is where a line comes in between Beast and Wolverine. which I will reference as to why I think this episode isn't in the correct order either. But then it says where the other X-Men are. So
interesting.
They're getting on the ship to go off. Jubilee joins them, of course, and they're off to the Savage Land.
Move it, kid. We ain't got all day.
That was a good
Died
line.
and made him Cyclops.
That's a great line. I was gonna use that one later too, which is fine, but it's a really good line. So she says, "Who died made him Cyclops." I thought was really good. So then we cut to
Where is Cyclops?
Well, this is referenced, and I'll explain this later. So we cut back to Zaladane, who is communing with her god through his necklace. Soren arrives, dropping the body of Storm in front of them. Zaladane recognized her as the Weather Witch, basically, and commends Sauron for bringing her to him. But at no point did she tell him to do this. That's why it's like seeming to be the amulet, I guess. And as she's holding it, you do see the eyes of it glow as well, and then it glow. Yeah, it's all kind of explained here, but it wasn't. I was watching this on set when I wasn't doing anything, just sitting and holding. So I may have looked away and missed this part. But as she's holding the amulet, you see it glow, and then Sauron's glows as well. And then it seems like he's sort of compelled by what she's saying. He basically says he needs to use her powers to make her let go of her control over her own powers, and then turn her essentially into a battery that will power him forever. So they get her up, bring her away.
Keep my emotions in check, lest my powers rage out of control.
Who says "lest" in normal conversation?
Her and Beast.
Besides Beast.
Her and Beast. That's it.
It's quite a commanding of the English language, considering it's not her first language.
Maybe Magneto in this series. He might say less.
Maybe. Anyway, so Sauron uses powers to basically have her let go of her control and turn her into some kind of an elemental weather witch, as they referenced several times before, where she just sort of runs mad, controlling the weather. There's no real discernible.
I thought of one. Apocalypse would say it.
Yeah, he would, but that makes sense for him. It just feels strange to have Storm do it. Anyway. I mean, her voice is the seminal voice I hear if I think of what Storm would sound like. So, you know,
this show did.
It sure did. It did a lot of that with a lot of characters.
I mean, like Gambit. How could you ever think of Gambit sounding any other way?
If you did a live action show and he talked like that, I think it would not be received quite so well. What? It works because it's a cartoon, but if you had a live action show and he's like, "What are you doing over that woman?" You know, it's not gonna work.
That's how they talk.
Well, every person from Louisiana talks like that. I don't think so.
His part of the bayou in the guild.
Okay, the bayou
talk in the guild.
So as Storm's powers kind of roam free, Sauron flies after her, and basically starts draining her power, which gives him even more power. He says, "Is it okay?" So then, Sauron, let's try to keep it in the timeline because that came right after, so that was good. Yes, so he's excited. We see the X-Men arriving. The 4 X-Men we've seen before arriving in the Savage Land. Beast is reading a book as they're traveling, which I always find is kind of funny. I think he's looking at maps of the Savage Land itself or something.
Oh, yeah. That's less.
Basically, they see Jubilee notices a statue of Garokk on the ground. Wolverine tells her that's the god they worship around here, and that Kazar told them all about it last time they were here, which is something that I don't think he did. I'm pretty sure we watched the X-Men leave, so somewhere in between there, when they're hanging around, Kazar's like, "Hey, stranger, let me tell you about the local gods around here."
Yeah.
Wolverine pulled up a chair.
Who's the zit case?
That's Garokk. Some goofy legend Kazar told us about last time we were here.
Who's the zit case?
Because he's like, it's like a face sticking out of the ground she sees from space, and it kind of looks. I don't know why that particular effigy is used, but anyway. Do you have the Beast dialogue? As he kind of sums up that he's a sun god that they believe lives within the Savage Land, the soil of the Savage Land, or is trapped within, or something to that effect. The X-Men land.
The soul's like trapped in the Savage Land. Yeah. Like in the ground itself and everything. Yeah.
The X-Men land are immediately attacked by dinosaurs, which I'm always surprised they're not prepared for whenever they go to the Savage Land, because it happens every single time they go to the Savage Land. But essentially, Tyrannosaurus Rex comes out of the woods. Beast jumps on its back, tries to stop it from hurting his friends. When it comes in to attack him, the X-Men run in for the save, only to actually Wolverine rather. Some really good timing here. It's about to like bite down on Beast. And it's funny, they actually reference Barney specifically this time, which is like last time where they talk about the dinosaur that was purple, which was obviously a little nod at Barney. As the Mojo world, they say the kids will love it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's about to bite down on Beast. Wolverine slices the tree branch. I always find it funny because, like, if an animal, like, just some of the ways they get around direct violence in this show, I find fun. Instead, like, you'd think it'd be faster to just use your claws to attack this thing head on, but Wolverine runs, cuts a tree that falls right into the jaws of the monster as it's biting down on Beast, getting the tree instead of Beast. Rogue flies around it. And then
Wolverine in this show, though, he does a lot of cutting of things.
Yeah, I mean, except people, not organic matter, but it's just really funny.
Can I please have a scorecard so I can tell the good extinct animals from the bad ones?
You're ahead of me again.
Oh, whoops.
So Kazar comes into the rescue, jumps on the back of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, basically puts the thing in its mouth and gets it to safety, leading it away from them. The tail knocks Jubilee into a mud puddle, so we get a little comedic bit there as it's leaving. Kazar leads it away, jumps off its back. And then it falls into a pit that he had set up, which is like a little, like a tiger pit, I guess, for lack of a better term, as they call them. Just a hole in the ground, it's covered with leaves, so when you step on it, you fall in. Wolverine and Kazar recognize each other from their last instance there. They have some bit of dialogue, and then Wolverine, the saber-toothed tiger, as we know as what's the name of the tiger?
Isn't it like Zazu?
Zabar?
No. Zabu.
Kazar and Zabu, yeah. The tiger arrives. Jubilee thinks it might be to attack them. Then Wolverine jumps it and then plays with it because he's friendly with it. And that's when she says the line, "Can I have a scorecard?" Which I thought was a really good little line. Can I have some kind of a scorecard to let me know what beings here are bad and good? Basically, Kazar catches them up to what's going on. That after Sinister left, Sauron took over, and then he used his mind-controlled minions to kind of terrorize villages. Then they work towards. Then all these statues of Garokk started appearing everywhere, and then the villagers thought that he was leaving indicator he wanted to help them. So then they sort of instilled in them a desire to want to attack Sauron back. Kazar is not convinced that Garokk actually is a presence in the Savage Land, but he was happy to go along with it to rescue his friends and get them out from under Sauron's control. We also see Jubilee change into, because her outfit got muddied when she got thrown in the mud puddle earlier, dressed into a more standard sort of Tarzan girl outfit. She comes out, kind of makes a joke about it, thinks everyone gets shocked by something. She thinks it's her outfit, and then it's like, come on, guys, it's not that bad. We get some of Sauron's minions showing up with spears.
Comment on how it smells.
It just smells like a carpet.
Yeah.
So that was interesting because, like, I'm not sure a wood carpet, a bamboo carpet. I don't know. So some of Sauron's people come in riding those horses, the dinosaurs kind of look like ostriches. Then Jubilee goes to attack them, but is attacked herself by picked up by other guys riding dinosaurs, the pterodactyls. Wolverine asks for a fastball special from Beast and gets thrown up after.
Mix me up a fastball special.
Now, am I correct in saying this is the first time this term is used in this show?
Definitely.
Because he was thrown by Colossus before.
It was always Colossus.
Did they call? Yeah, in the comics it was. But did they call it that then?
No, I don't.
I don't think they do.
No, I don't think so. I think he asked them
feel
for
like
a
they may
boost or
have,
something.
but maybe not. Maybe it was
Really?
just
I don't
a little
know.
nod to the fact. It's fine. It may not be, but basically Wolverine goes after them. Jubilee manages to get away from her captor, take over the flying Pterodon. We get Beast sort of attacking some of the other guys, dealing with them. It's just mostly a fight between them. Sauron's minions and the rest of the X-Men. Then Sauron shows up, gets in a fight with Rogue, who says he can't beat me if he can't catch me. She flies high into the atmosphere. When Sauron flies after her, we forget, of course, that for some reason when he transforms, he must become cold-blooded because he's a reptile, and therefore falls back down, hurt from the extreme cold of being in the upper atmosphere, which is interesting.
Paraphrase Sir Isaac Newton. That which goes up must invariably come down.
There's an interesting spot here where it looks like it's just, I don't know if it's an animation issue or maybe it's part of him that I just didn't notice before. No, it actually just seems to be part of him I didn't notice before. His tail actually doesn't come out of his butt. It comes out of his upper back.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. I didn't really notice that before, but I thought maybe it was an animation gaffe, but based on the fact that you keep seeing it that way, that's how it was designed.
Yeah, he's kind of like a weird dragon kind of creature, too.
Kind of strange. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So Wolverine tries to go after him on a pterodactyl that he managed to get from one of his minions. Sauron zaps its energy to make it go unconscious, and then it drops Wolverine. Wolverine falls. It's caught by Beast. Jubilee keeps chasing him.
I sense a recurring motif.
Beast just keeps catching people. It's like the third, fourth time this episode.
As Sauron is running away. Yeah, he does quite a bit. As Sauron's running away, he also has another, starts transforming back into Carl again while he's flying, making him weaker. Jubilee strikes him with, you think if your whole ability is based on, having to take, like if you're a vampire and need a blood to like not get weak and get captured or defeated or whatever, wouldn't you make sure you time that better? You have you literally have
supply
tied up back at your base. As a living battery, you can feed out whenever you want. So why don't you just before you run into battle, charge up?
Charge up. Yeah.
So
he thought it was going to last longer because he seemed pretty impressed by Storm's power.
Maybe so. Jubilee shoots some rocks that fall on him. We cut back to Zaladane, who is calling to Garokk to, bring his powers out to one of his statues. His eyes start glowing. Yeah, his eyes start glowing. He says that.
It's creepy voice.
Yeah, it is good voice.
Creepy music behind it. It's pretty cool.
We cut to Storm, who's still kind of raging, but restrained. Zaladane shows up and releases her and says, "Let me help you. Go." Be the weather witch you are, essentially run off and cause destruction. The X-Men arrive at Sauron, who is trapped under the rocks that Jubilee dropped on him. He comes out of the rocks and transforms back into Carl Lycos, who we learn is a friend of Khazar's.
Carl, is it really you? You know this creep?
So is Lycos from the Savage Land originally?
No, from what I remember, he was just a scientist that was there studying it.
All right, so they ask what happened. He says that he was experimented upon by Mr. Sinister. He's experimented upon by Mr. Sinister, and he changed the nature of his powers so that he has to suck life from living human beings to survive. If he takes it from mutants, he turns into Sauron. Beast offers to bring him back to the mansion to have him, Professor X, help on, help him. He seems to. There's going to be something I'm going to reference in one of my points as to the nature of his powers, and it really hammers home here. He doesn't like what he becomes. So he doesn't think he can't control what he does as Sauron, but he remembers it and doesn't think he deserves to live because he has to answer for the crimes of this. But the X-Men offer to take him back and help his powers, help him get better. So as this is happening, basically we see Storm in a full fury come flying in like a banshee on the wind, screaming with all the lightning coming off her and the storm behind her, which is kind of cool to see her off the chain here. And then we get one of the coolest
control over him, but I must answer for his crimes. I don't deserve to live.
Yes, which he does say. And then a storm comes in, we cut to the basically to one of the coolest to be continueds I've ever seen. It's just like this. Did you notice this? It's like the swirling in, with the starfield behind it, like blue starfield, like 2 with and then lightning, and then B comes in, and then more lightning, and then continued, and then lightning makes the continued all shatter apart.
It was pretty cool.
Do not despair. The X-Men have vast experience in studying human mutation. Professor Xavier and I will combine our knowledge to aid you in your quandary.
And then we've come to the end.
Meantime, how's about showing us where you got Storm hid? On the other hand,
It can't be.
Apparently, Shanna is in the next episode, so we do get Shanna the She-Devil. So it's not totally without merit in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's the end.
That's the end. Well, I guess we get to the reason everyone is here.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
Yep. Look into our hearts. Decide. You first.
It's a good episode. Like I said, there's a bit of just because, but actually, as going through the episode with you and the ex-goons here on the show, I think most of that is kind of answered. I'm kind of okay with a lot of this episode. I think it's pretty good. It's got some fun comedic beats. Sauron's an interesting character. Storm's always fun, so we get to see a lot more Storm, and the fact that she can become some like almost controlled by her id weather witch if she doesn't keep her emotions in check is an interesting spin on her. Kind of comes out of left field, but I'm still okay with it. So based on that, I give it like a solid 8. I think it's a good 8.
We agree. An 8.
Yay! Yeah,
it was a good episode. A lot
I only
happened.
gave it an 8. I mean, the villain's kind of blah, but we'll see more of that in the next episode.
Well,
it's only part 1, so he's got to keep that in mind as well.
Storm's not faring so well so far.
No.
When she takes over and kicks ass, I will give that episode a 10.
Yeah, of course you would.
But
yeah, she's it's
cool.
interesting. Seeing her come flying in with the storm all behind her is really neat. Like,
yeah,
I kind of wish that I could see this in like a big budget Disney version of X-Men someday. Because like you'd think something that could control the weather coming screaming at you from the sky would be terrifying, with lightning and thunder and clouds and all that stuff behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Leewalds said when they were on the show too, that they kind of went at a breakneck pace with the pacing, and that's why it kind of holds up to modern viewing. And you really feel it in this episode because a lot happens, and it just goes from kind of cool thing to cool thing, and I could almost give it a 9, but I'll stick with the 8.
Yeah, I think 8's solid. Like it's there are a few misses which may give it some demerits, but otherwise it's a solid, fun episode. It's got the A-Team animation, which we all love.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I really, really, really like it.
I'm glad they had the A-Team for the Savage Land episode. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uncanny X points. Okay, well, first of all, we got here, Sam has an X point, which I'd never heard before, so that's interesting. Sam says, did you know Stan Lee was the first person to try to bring Power Rangers to North America?
Interesting.
I did not know that. Yeah.
That's an X point?
No, that was Sam. That's not mine. My X point. I'll start. Why not? All right. So first one, the Shakespeare quote. So it was.
No, he's right.
Sharp...
Sam's right, by the way.
Well, that's pretty cool, Sam. I did not know that.
In the 80s, he tried to get Marvel properties developed as movies and TV series in different ways. He and Margaret Loesch nearly brought the Japanese series that would eventually serve as a basis for Power Rangers here back then. Sorry. Yeah, that's interesting.
So how sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child.
Yes.
From King Lear.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The whole thing's about perceived. I mean, the king perceives the disobedience from his children for not honoring him, when in the end it's his own, like most things from Shakespeare. Or a lot of people, it's their own hubris of the person in charge that's their downfall. So
Yep. That was my X point. That's it.
That's it.
King Lear. Good quote.
All right, I'll start with
thankless child.
I'll start with the destination.
Child isn't yet thankless, so it's all good.
I was gonna say, how does that? You have that waiting for you in your future, buddy. It's coming.
Yeah, well, I have the quote ready if I need it.
Okay, good. I'm sure she'll appreciate that when she's.
Well, how sharper than a serpent's tooth?
She's like, I'm going off of like she comes home late from a party or something. Yeah. She's dating some guy you don't approve of, and she's like how sharp this tooth of this.
She's like, what are you even talking about? She's like,
yeah, like, no wonder I don't like you, you stupid weirdo. Yeah. All right, so when Lycos gets in the ship to go off to New York City, the pre-settings were Houston, New York, something else I mentioned, and the third one in the list. The last one was New York, which is what he selects. The third one, which is I remind you, is Magneto's ship, was Asteroid M.
And it was on there.
It was one of the destinations that was pre-programmed in the ship. It said Asteroid M. So
we haven't seen Asteroid M yet.
We have not, but it's a fun little nod. Maybe it's out there, and if so, we know that Magneto has been there and has been building it up. So that's a cool little nod.
Wow. Or maybe that is something about it being out of order.
That's not the point I was going to make about that.
No? Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, I might as well get all sciencey with your ostrich-like dinosaur. That's actually a Gallimimus.
Okay.
They were.
Don't say like I should know it. Shut up.
Nobody
cares what a gastromimus
let me tell you
is.
why.
It's not one of the sexy dinosaurs like the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, it was one of the coolest scenes in Jurassic Park where they're
when they're running it through the field. Yeah.
Come in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that scene.
Gallimimus.
Gallimimus. You are a dinosaur dude, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, I was obsessed with dinosaurs as a kid.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh wow.
You gotta answer that.
It was when I was a kid. It was always Brachiosaurus.
Oh, those are cool. The big tail.
The big, tall, long.
Oh, sorry, that's just the bigger brontosaurus.
The first one they see in Jurassic Park is a Brachiosaurus.
The bigger brontosaurus. I'm thinking of the Ankylosaurus.
Oh yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, they're kind of like like a battering ram, which is neat.
What about a Millisaurus?
Oh my goodness, Millie was a saber-toothed tiger, weren't you?
Zabu.
And look what we did to you. We made you this tiny little thing that we have domesticated and drinks milk, and we can just ragdoll around in our arms. But in the wild, you would have ripped our throats out and just ate us like the predator you would be.
Oh, well, Arcade got me good today.
Did he?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was trying to get him away from the road, and he didn't like that.
He sliced you?
Sliced me up.
Yeah, well, you know. I'm not, I'm just happy people are looking after cats, so we're pretty dogmatic about not letting hers outside for that reason. Yeah. So is that am I at a point now?
Yeah, yes, you're on a point. Mine was Gallimimus.
So when they're getting
what's your favorite dinosaur, Andre? Was it Ankylosaurus?
I always like Stegosaurus. I thought they were kind of cool.
They are very cool.
Triceratops always really neat too. I always kind of like I like the Triceratons on Ninja Turtles growing up, which are like Triceratop, kind of aliens. Aliens that I thought were cool. So I don't know if it'd be Ankylosaurus. I think the Lapisaurus. There's a lot of cool dinosaurs.
There are.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pteranodon, like Sauron.
I'm going to go with the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World.
That's the worst choice you could have made.
I like the name. I think it's kind of cool. Although it's always funny when they're like, they just never can just leave it alone. They're always like, well, let's put like chameleon.
It's like dinosaurs aren't cool enough. Let's create mutant ones.
Well, let's put I'm kind of okay with that for the most point, but like early on, they're like, well, they put frog DNA in to fix some of the DNA segments that were missing, and that made them be able to change gender, and then they could breed. And like later on, they're like, well, that caused problems. So now let's put DNA. Like, and why did no fucking scientist think of that? But the second time, they're like, well, let's throw in some all the DNA of the major predators, including human. Into its DNA to make it the smartest thing ever. Have it be able to change.
Did they put human into it?
Yes, they mentioned that.
I thought it was just T-Rex and Velociraptor.
That's why it's so smart, because they combined human in it as well. But it's so smart it can figure out what thermal imaging is with no reference. Maybe it understands humans because it's able to alter its own body temperature to not be recognized by the machine because of all the DNAs within it, so it can escape. But it'd have to know X-Men the system.
Is more scientifically accurate about dinosaurs than Jurassic Park.
I would guess probably let's say the Ankylosaur. I think it's kind of cool. I'm gonna stick with that one. So when they're getting on the ship, Beast mentions that the other X-Men are off observing Jean the other X-Men are off on Muir Island. And then Wolverine says studying Jeannie like some friggin' science experiment or something like that. So Jean is still dead as far as we know, or trapped in the sun.
No, she came back.
Not yet. Nope. The next
I
episode.
thought she came right back in the next episode, and they had her in
No.
like a. No, that was after she got possessed by the Phoenix.
Yeah, she's still trapped in the sun, as far as we know.
Oh wow!
So
something's going on there.
The episode after this is part 2 to this, but then after that is the Dark Phoenix part 1. So that's, I'm assuming, when she comes back. Dazzled is the name of that episode, but yeah. So yeah, I believe this is either. It may have been aired in the right order. Maybe there's an error. I don't know, but that reference would imply Jean's still alive, and they don't know about it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
She is going to come back, because they couldn't drop these into the middle of the Dark Phoenix saga, so she must have came back before. Maybe
this would have happened between those episodes. I don't know. It's very strange.
It is very strange. I hope we're not presenting our show in the wrong order. We promised to get it right.
Well, as far as everything says online, this is the correct order, and even Disney themselves are saying that. So I don't know. But
well, is it to me now? Is it?
It sure
all
is.
Right. Well, I was just gonna kind of draw the comparison between Sauron and Jekyll and Hyde. He's another one of those Jekyll and Hyde type characters where, yeah, the one personality can't control the other, and they don't necessarily even like each other. Like, even like the Hulk and Bruce Banner. It's just another one of those types of characters. So I tend to like those characters. It should be a played out concept, but I don't know. It works for me.
Well, my third point is that we're at.
Did I go first? Yep. Third point.
Well, to expand upon that, the villain Sauron originally in the comics was supposed to be a werewolf, but the Comics Code Authority forbade this at the time because
Sauron's a stupid name for a werewolf.
Well, there's more. So the comic, that's what they changed his name to later. Yeah. But he's originally meant to be a werewolf. The Comics Code Authority was forbidding this at the time because they were after the Bertrand book, Seduction of the Innocent, and all that stuff about comics. They really hammered down with the creation of the Comics Code Authority on horror elements. So there were certain things they wouldn't allow at this time: vampires, werewolves, that sort of thing. Kind of parts of the reason why Morbius was a living vampire and other things.
Scientific vampire.
But
supernatural stuff.
Yes, but as a reference to his origin, however, Sauron's alter ego is named Karl Lycos. Scientific term for werewolf is what, Davan?
Lichen.
Lichen or lycanthropy is the condition. So that's where they get the name from.
That's very cool. All right. That's a very good X point. Far more in depth than any of mine here.
Hey, man.
I had Gallimimus, I guess. That's pretty cool.
I bring a manic flying by the seat of your pants, but somehow excelling while you're doing an energy to this show.
Yeah. That's X point I'm actually going to save for the next segment. Badass Jubilee. She's like, oh, I guess I'm the only one left, and she's pretty good in a battle situation. In a pinch,
she's wearing like some kind of a cave woman outfit.
Yeah, and she's riding a dinosaur, and she flies down, and she immediately realizes she should just like use her powers to blow a chunk out of the side of the mountain, so it'll fall on Sauron. It's quick thinking, man. I was impressed. They always like make fun of how she's not useful in a fight and try to leave her out of the fights and stuff. But well, she's pretty good. She's paying attention.
Interesting.
Jubilee,
just killing it. As you mentioned Sauron's name, I did have a piece on that. And where is it?
Is it a Lord of the Rings tie-in?
Pardon?
Is it a Lord of the Rings tie-in?
It is, in fact. And I believe he named himself Sauron based on his love of the Lord of the Rings. Lycos, see here, right here. It says, the energy triggered his metamorphosis transformation to a creature that resembled half-humanoid pterodon, who retained his human intelligence and ability to speak. However, the change distorted Lycos' personality, turning him evil. Hence, Lycos took the name Sauron after the arch-villain of Lord of the Rings. So I don't know if he chose that purposefully, but... he apparently did choose that name based on that book, which was still very popular in 1969 when the character was introduced. But it's kind of fun full circle that the other X-Men villain, Magneto, of course, being played by Ian McKellen, who goes on to play Gandalf in that. So there's a little bit of fun there.
Interesting. All right, my final X point. I'm just going to bring it up again because it's inexplicable and I can't figure it out. It's the whole title confusion thing. I don't know why it's called Savage Land Strange Heart all over the internet.
Savage Land Savage Heart
changed it a bunch of times. I had it as Savage Land Savage Heart, and then I read it something on the internet. It was called Savage Land Strange Heart, so I changed it in the stream, and then I ended up changing it back again because I watched the episode and it said Savage Land Savage Heart on the actual episode. I don't know. It's weird, man. This hasn't come up before in this show, so.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. I don't see any reference to it online, but that doesn't mean
and I looked,
not right.
And I looked in the sacred tome behind me there.
The sacred tome
making of the animated series, and it doesn't mention it in there.
Side note too, and just to expand upon two things about, I guess I'll go back to my X point about Sauron, as he even says in the episode when he's sucking the energy from a normal dude in the subway, I'm no better than a vampire, which I think is an interesting little note. As vampires do exist in this universe, as indicated by the appearance of Morbius, but real vampires do as well, as indicated.
The X-Men don't know this though.
By Blade, no, but Sauron might. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Or just the fact, because Blade is in the Spider-Man cartoon and is a half vampire who hunts vampires. As we know, these cartoons share a universe. But my final point, I mean, that could be
the movie got pushed back.
But my final point was going to be the actor who does the voice of Sauron. His name is Robert Boxstall. He's from Winnipeg. And
he was on Knight Rider.
No, he was on Dennis the Menace
Forever Night. I mean,
let's see if he is. He's like his voice work. He's on Dennis the Menace. He's on RoboCop. I believe it's the animated RoboCop series. Yeah, it was. He was on the animated RoboCop series. He was on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
I used to love that show.
Doing the voice of Mouser number 2 and Mervyn, some other characters. He was also on Babar, doing a lot of additional voices. So a deeply Canadian show. And to get into the Canadian shows he's in, there's Street Legal, Counter-Strike.
There we go.
Monster Force, Forever Night. He was Carl. He was on Forever Night. He's on the Ultra Force cartoon. And that was before the X-Men cartoon, actually, which is funny. I didn't realize that Ultra Force cartoon was out before the... Oh, no, it wasn't. It was in 95. It was in the middle. He's on FX, the series, North of 60, La Femme Nikita, Sci-Fi.
All the
a bunch of Canadian shows.
Everything.
He also did the voice of Pip the Troll in the Silver Surfer animated series.
Oh, wow. We'll get to that eventually. All right.
We will probably as well.
Yeah,
he's also in a short movie just called Rape, which oh
my God,
an alarming title for a short film. But then some other Canadian shows like The Famous Jet Jackson. He's acting fairly. If you look at his IMDb, there's a lot of titles here, and a lot of deeply Canadian ones, but also ones that go right up to modern days. So he's been a working actor continuously since back then. He's in the Canada Russia '72 series about the when Canada fought the Russians in the gold medal games, which is fairly recent, all the way up to a recent thing. I just saw his name, and was it Flashpoint, the show, and Green Gables, and some other stuff like that. But yeah, he's been pretty relevant, been around.
Wow, that's very cool. Forever Night.
Most recently he was in a movie called Fat Man, which stars Mel Gibson as Santa Claus, which came out a couple years ago. I mean to watch it because basically it's about a kid who, like, Santa Claus is Mel Gibson and lives in the Arctic, and I think he has some kind of a contract with the military or something. The elves maybe make arms for him as well. I don't know. There's something like that going on for the government. But anyway, there's a rich, spoiled, which actually is a fun concept. So that's why I want to watch it. There's a spoiled rich kid who gets like coal for Christmas because he's a dickhead, and he uses his money to hire a hitman to kill Santa Claus. The hitman being played by Walter Goggins, who most people will recognize from Deadwood.
Oh yeah.
And
Ant-Man.
Justified. He's an Ant-Man and the Wasp. Great character actor. He was an episode of Community as well.
I believe that character he played in Ant-Man's coming back is for Armor Wars as well.
Well, they just announced today that Justin Hammer will be back as Sam Rockwell's character. and Paul Bettany's Vision, the new White Vision he's become after Scarlet Witch and Vision will also be in the show, which is fun. So I saw a funny
movie now.
it was cool. I saw a funny meme which said, like, I guess Don Cheadle said after Armor Wars he doesn't have a contract with Marvel right now, and then that meme with the guy behind the tree going like this, right, with his hands together, excited. They just did it, but they photoshopped Terrence Howard, the guy doing this.
Coming back in,
coming back, baby.
Hey, check this out.
Hey, check this out. This is.
I always want to say no.
What?
No.
Check this out. These are comic reminiscences and recommendations. Yeah, let's check it out. All right. So I got some comics about Storm.
Of course you do.
This is the Greg Pak Storm run, signed by Greg Pak. As you can see. So this is an interesting Storm run. It's just kind of her off doing her own things. And in the reason I really want to talk about this series is it's really good. It's about Storm. She's got a one with Callisto, one with Forge, so it touches on all the Storm kind of stuff. But there's the death. There it is. There's the Death of Wolverine issue, and this is where she actually realizes that she's not going to be able to contain her emotions, and she knows what happens when that happens. Like, if she loses control of her emotions, she would destroy the entire planet, So this issue starts off with her just in Beast in, not the Blackbird, but one of their jets that can go into space. And she's just like, faster, because she had just found out that Wolverine is dead. And so Beast immediately knew he had to get her off planet, or she told him or whatever. But she's freaking out, can't contain her grief, and so they just get off planet and into the atmosphere, and she can't hold it in no more. And it's just like all this energy just goes like and just radiates out in every direction.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize that was a thing.
Oh yeah, and it's just like if we'd have been on the planet, like the planet would have been destroyed, and like so so. That's why she has to be so reserved and controlled all the time.
Well, it makes sense. It's just I didn't realize that was like I don't know. I kind of feel like if anything goes on long enough, everybody has to be some kind of crazy mutant. Like if Wolverine doesn't keep himself in check, his bestial rage will let him rip people apart.
So the mask there, the Wolverine mask, and she's lying with it in the puddle. Isn't that sad? Look at that now.
Oh yeah, that is sad.
Just a Wolverine.
Poor Storm.
Well, they were dating at the time too.
I would like to see that actually be a thing and continue on. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be a good match, and it certainly would make you happy. So
I like them as a couple. It's funny. He always openly flirts with her in front of people and stuff, and she just rebuffs him and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. I would like to see
like there's one line where he's just like, I don't know. They have a few minutes or something. He's like, "Oh, time for a quickie." She's like, "We don't have time." He's like, "Don't worry, I'll skip the foreplay." She's like, "You most certainly will not."
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice indeed.
Yeah.
All right. My comic recommendation is Scud, the Disposable Assassin. Created by frequent collaborator with Dan Harmon, Rob Schraub, who works on Rick and Morty currently and is the writing partner of Dan Harmon. They work on pretty much all their stuff together. It is a interesting little graphic novel that they've tried to make into a movie and cartoon several times. It's never really quite got off the ground. Schraub worked on the Sarah Silverman program as well. She's quoted in the back talking about the series. But it's in a futuristic society where these vending machines exist, where Scud, the disposable assassin, can be bought in. And then when you buy it from the vending machine and give it its target, it'll, much like a Meeseeks from Rick and Morty, it'll go about its business to kill the person that is programmed to. After killing them, it will self-destruct. However, this particular robot, either, I think I got to reread it, it's been a little while, but either becomes self-aware or he malfunctions somehow and decides to only maim the person that he sent to kill, basically putting him in a coma, therefore not ending his life and therefore getting to continue to live and becoming an assassin for hire of his own right, while falling in love and learning what it means to become human and all that stuff that happens with characters. But had a really interesting run. Went on for quite a while. Really satisfying conclusion, beautiful story, lovely art, really fun stuff. And yeah, definitely worth your time to read. Now, this collection came out many years ago. I'm not sure if it's still available, but it's all of the books in one. Definitely worth your time. Very interesting. If you like the writing of those shows I mentioned, even if you like Invader Zim and those sort of things, you'll like this a lot. It's very good, very heartfelt, a beautiful story, very human, but also very funny. It's very good. Check that out.
Check it out, everybody. Hey, check it out.
Hey, check this out.
It's my remote with Andre.
What?
What's your remote flicking to tonight, Andre?
Well, one of my favorite films is something that you and I just discussed recently. I decided to grab it because I love it. It came out in the year 1992, so it's on brand.
I think I know what this is.
It is by one Joe Dante, one of my favorite filmmakers, and it is called Matinee. This is the Scream Factory Blu-ray. And I was actually literally just listening to Mick Garris's podcast. Oh my God, my mind's blanking what it's called. Mick Garris is a podcast for one of the horror magazines. And it'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, he was just talking with Joe Dante about this thing they'd worked on recently. But Dante was talking about that movie. And basically, it's about the 1950s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. A character played by John Goodman, who's kind of meant to represent William Castle, who was a shock filmmaker from back in the day, who would make all these movies like The Tingler, where you'd watch in the theater and your seats would tingle when the creature was by. You know, there'd be a tingle.
Spoiling my new movie podcast, but go ahead.
No, that's good. I'm excited.
No, it's a good. Actually, it's a great segue. This is a great
segue. So yeah, basically those sort of gimmicky things they would do in the 50s to draw people in. Yeah. It's actually good. And actually, for the rest of this month, I'm just going to suggest kind of horror movies since it is October, my favorite time, one of my favorite times of the year.
Good idea.
So this one, he comes to town promoting his new movie Mant, half man, half ant, all terror, which all those gimmicky things, but obviously the at that point in the 50s during the Cuban Missile Crisis, everyone was terrified of the outcome of a nuclear war. So this guy's sort of capitalizing on it by coming to this town and promoting this movie about a dude who's exposed to radiation, becomes half man, half ant. The movie within the movie is quite funny. But the movie itself is great. It's used as a representation of the scare of that time period, but also kind of the beauty of movies and some of the fun, lost nostalgia of this sort of shock filmmaking, which you don't really get anymore. If you like John Goodman, you'll love it. If you like movies by Joe Dante, you'll love it. If you love The Burbs, if you love Inner Space, if you love...
The Burbs is one of my favorite movies.
It's a great movie. If you love Gremlins 1 and 2, which I thoroughly do. If you love The Howling, if Piranha, all these great movies made by him. This one is fantastic and not one that's usually mentioned in those circles, but it well deserves to be. Check it out, Matinee. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
You won't be disappointed.
All right. Well,
there's a great line where, like the Ant-Man thing says something like when he's still a dude, but he has the giant ant head similar to like the Fly from the old Vincent Price version. And he says something like, "This isn't going to be a picnic." And he's like, you get it? Ants, picnic? Hello? like he's just like...
Yeah, so that was a good segue. I'm going to start a movie podcast with Murphy, who's been on this show before. And the first episode, we're going to talk about The Tingler and also Matinee. And the whole concept of the show is we're going to examine whether those older movies hold up. Now, I'm coming from the perspective that they probably do because I prefer older movies. And Murphy's a fellow who enjoys newer things.
I highly doubt The Tingler holds up. Matinee does.
I'm not spoiling the podcast. But
Matinee does, for sure, because I just watched it recently.
I haven't watched Matinee again yet, so
it's very good.
I used to watch it all the time on the Movie Network. But great movie. But we'll find out if it holds up. And then we're also he's going to suggest a newer movie that we watch, and I'll examine whether it measures up to the older movies that I love. And he's chosen The Majestic. which I haven't seen.
Jim
So
Carrey,
it's cool.
the Jim Carrey
Yeah,
thing.
I've never. Yeah, I never saw it.
It's
I like Jim
it's
Carrey, so-
actually referenced. It comes up quite a bit in movies that you probably never saw, but are well worth your time. So I'd like to go watch it as well.
You're welcome to join us on this podcast anytime. Man.
I don't think I have. Well, you know what? When the Frankenstein plays over, I'll have more time. I just don't know if I can commit to something else right now.
Oh yeah, no worries.
If I do, I'd have to get rid of the other one, the graphic histories one. I don't know if I want to do that. So
that's a good show.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
the play is chugging along. It'll be done at the end of the month, and then I can reassess. For now, maybe we'll. Maybe
so you've done some shows there now.
No. Rehearsals are coming up. Like at the end of the month is when the play happens. So after Halloween, basically, I'll be ready to jump back into the show.
Right on.
But
what were you doing? Playing with matches?
Go ahead.
No. I'll make this part of my homework.
All right. So X-Teen-Bit Gaming with Super Nintendo Skelhorn. Actually, this X-Teen is actually. I'm going to go back to the 8-bits. Okay. Yeah. Well, I liked your suggestion of being Halloween themed. And I'll tell you, a very scary 8-bit game, at least it scared me as a kid. I think it gave me nightmares, is the Friday the 13th game for the NES. That game was terrifying. I played. You get lost. You're always lost because the map's weird. So every time
I played one of its companion games, or a lot, but not that one. But I remember it being out.
And then you go into like a cabin and it's all dark and he could be in one of the rooms and sometimes he is and he comes at you and the music is scary. Great game. I don't actually own that game, so I'm gonna have to reacquire it. I've been meaning to. I used to own it
as a child. My cousins had the Nightmare on Elm Street game, and I played that a lot.
That one's good too. I liked the Friday the 13th one better.
There was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre one for the Atari, wasn't there? What? Or was it the NES? It might be the NES. There was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm not aware of that at all. That's
really? There is a new Chainsaw game coming out by the creators of the Friday the 13th game.
Is he going to do the dance?
I'd assume so. He must.
He must.
Yeah,
he must do it.
He must. There is a new game coming out. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre game came out in the Atari 2600. You look up some of the gameplay. It's very strange. But the new one looks fantastic. It's by the same guys that did the Nightmare on Elm Street or the Friday the 13th game that came out recently, which was really, really good.
Interesting.
And if you play Warzone, Leatherface was a skin you could get for a certain character. So you can play as Leatherface running around and shooting other people. I
played was it Mortal Kombat? I played a Mortal Kombat phone game, and they were all characters in that too.
Yeah, there's the game. A lot of them are killers in the Dead by Daylight games too that are downloadable.
Should we play a quick game?
Sure.
What do you mean?
We haven't played this one in a while. Yep. So who are our two characters? We have Ladies Man, who's very attractive to ladies.
I'm glad you kept track of this because I really did not.
Yet repulsive to them at night.
Yes.
So a lot of lunch dates.
I love that they keep making excuses that they can't go out together at nighttime.
Yeah, and I don't know. Didn't he have a soul patch or something like that?
I think you added the soul patch.
Yeah. Our other character, I remember was like a green-skinned alien.
She had something with eyes or something. Her hair was a different color. I remember there's something strange.
Oh, right. That's right. She had one something because I'm like, you have people with one eye, one nostril.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. Nostril. Would you remember what her powers were? Because I remember she had interesting powers as well.
I don't.
I guess I'm writing these down. My God, we're.
I'll go back at the end of the season.
All right. No, you won't.
Maybe listeners can remember what our other.
All right, let's.
Does she fly? I don't know.
Yeah, no, she had some kind of. Anyway, let's make someone from the Savage Land. Let's go there since we did.
Okay, a mutant from the Savage Land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we each have to give them a power and a physical trait.
They have 4 things, or one of us has a power. One does.
Yeah, all these characters have 2 powers and 2 physical traits.
Okay.
Hence the power to be attractive to ladies and the power to repel them.
All right. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
I start. Okay. So this Savage Land character is like a minotaur, like it's like a man from
I
the,
like it.
but not a minotaur. He's actually, because he's the body of like Zabu, or like a saber-toothed tiger.
With a human head.
But no, an upper torso. So you have
So
like
it's the
this
centaur
long.
with a cat body.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
not
right.
minotaur. Yeah, centaur. That's what I meant. Thanks.
Yeah, Minotaur is the bull man that hides in the
Yeah, with the
labyrinth.
bull head. Yeah. Yeah. So we have a cat centaur.
A cator, if you will.
A cator, if you will. Yes, exactly.
Mm.
And
Yep.
I mean, that seems like a power in itself, but we'll say the power we'll say X-ray vision, to see through walls, to see through pretty much anything.
It's an interesting combo. You'd think like giving him cat powers, like seeing by night and that sort of thing would make more sense, would it not? All right, I'll give him that.
He can do that anyway.
Because
Maybe
he's
he
not
can't.
necessarily.
Yeah, that's true. Not necessarily. So he's got X-ray vision. That's pretty good for a cat person.
Well, we'll just wrap that all together. It's X-ray vision, and you can see like cats can, so he can see in the dark, and he can, his claws are just cat stuff, elevated cat stuff. And let's make him African American, or skinned African American, like a black man.
Okay.
Because that's more. You always think people that live in these sort of tropical climates, if they've grown up there, probably would be dark skinned, but they rarely.
But they always
are
make
for
them
some
like
reason.
Tarzan.
Yeah, I know. That was like Khazar.
Yeah.
It's like you should be black. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
You can grow up in like Europe or come from European descent. He's from.
The Khazar even sounds like Tarzan. They were clearly.
Yeah,
just
he's
making
very
Tarzan.
clearly. He's even the name Khazar. Oh, you mean the name Khazar? You mean I think
Yeah.
the way he talks. Yes, very
Everything
much so.
about him. Everything about him. Really, he's
Yeah.
just Tarzan. Except he has a cat instead of a monkey.
Well, Tarzan had a bunch of Tantor, and I remember that Canadian TV show, Tarzan. The Legend
I
of Tarzan.
loved Tarzan.
I used to watch it all the
loved
time.
that show.
The girl that played Jane,
starring Wolf Larson.
the girl that played Jane was gorgeous in that show.
She was, and I
Remember
liked
that was
the
Cheetah
character
was the
Simon. He was cool.
He's the guy that flew the airplane, right?
Yeah.
I always used to get confused with the Beast.
And Cheetah, of course.
It's called Tarzan and Jane, wasn't it? Or no, it was just
No, it was
Tarzan?
just called Tarzan.
All right.
It's a good show.
91 to 94, Wolf Larson. I'm looking at it right now.
Wolf Larson.
Blonde environmentalist with Jane Liddy Denier.
Yeah.
She was French. That's right. She was an ecologist.
Like, it always seemed dubbed. Like, her lines almost seemed dubbed. Like, there was a weird kind of thing with that show where even Simon, when he would talk, sometimes it would sound dubbed. So I don't know if it was filmed in another language or what, but there were often times.
Her last credit, according to actually that's a partial filmography. She was in a movie with Gary Busey.
I've seen a couple of really bad movies with Wolf Larson in them too.
Oh, I'm sure there's tons of those. Do you remember the Beastmaster show that was out around the same time period?
Yeah, I didn't really get into that one though. I didn't watch that one very
It used to be on repeat at the gym all the time. It would be on every day.
Of course it is. Beastmaster.
And it's always like because there's one girl is like the sorceress who just had massive breasts that they always like had in some kind of a bustier that are like just squeezed up and as high as you can go. And I remember just walking to the gym every day and it's just like episodes of just her on the screen constantly. It just looked so weird and strange. It's like, I'm just trying to work out here, guys. For the love of God.
That's a good show to examine, actually, because this movie podcast I'm starting with is called Hold Up. It'd be interesting to see if that Tarzan show holds up, because I remember loving it. It was a great show.
And then, comparisonly, you should watch the Disney Tarzan movie.
I've never seen that.
It's good.
Well, I'll watch it with the daughter.
Phil Collins won an Oscar for it.
You'll be in my heart.
I don't know the words. Yeah, it's a good song.
It's homework from Professor Andre.
Just for reference, the lady that played Jane in that show's name is Liddy Denier. And her last film credit is Children of Wax. Part of that was a TV movie called Shark Man. All one word. She's on Gilmore Girls in 2002 and Spin City. So there you go. Gilmore Girls at the same time as Spin City. Wow, where'd the time go? All right, so your homework is to watch two things. First off, watch the next episode of the series, which is Savage Land, Savage Heart, Part 2.
We think that's what it's called.
Which is the second half of this episode. We believe that is what this is called. The next thing you should watch, I believe it's not coming out. We'll have time to discuss it. Oh, no. Holy shit. No, you definitely. Okay, your next homework is to watch, which comes out October 7th, the Marvel Werewolf by Night special.
I'm so looking forward to that.
Which looks fucking amazing. If you haven't watched the trailer, watch it. Gabriel Byrne, I never pronounced his name right. Gabriel Bernal, yeah. Plays Jack Terrier. I'm assuming they keep his name the same. I don't know if it's stated in the series or in the trailer or not.
No, his name was Jack.
No, it was Jack Russell.
Yeah, Jack Russell.
That's right, because it was Jack Russell Terrier. Jack Russell, who is a werewolf essentially, but based within the series, in the comics he becomes a superhero as a werewolf by night, hence the term. And in fact, Werewolf by Night is where Moon Knight first appeared in that comic. And I'm hoping that they may have some overlap or maybe a Moon Knight make an appearance. But in the trailer, you do see a very brief glimpse of Man-Thing, which I'm very excited about as well, and several other kind of dark-themed Marvel horror stuff. Marvel seems to be leaning hard into the horror side of things, loose, kind of subtly touched with Moon Knight, more expanded upon a bit with some stuff going on in She-Hulk. But this Werewolf by Night series and with the Morbius stuff coming out, or not Morbius, sorry, fuck that. The Blade redo coming out, all that stuff. They're really leaning hard into the horror side of the Marvel Universe, and I'm very, very much. Oh, and Doctor Strange, very much so.
Oh yeah,
with the Darkhold and all that stuff. So I'm very much here for it.
Scarlet Witch,
Agatha,
the Coven of Chaos coming up too.
In fact, in the comics, I didn't reference it. Maybe I'll do it next episode. Actually, maybe I can. Yeah. So the comics back in the 90s, they had a lot of these horror comics. They went back into them. This is where we got the Blade redo, where he was like brought from the Afro-haired 70s character to like the version that we got in the movies. This is where we got Sleepwalker, where we got Moon Knight kind of having a more darker edge, where we got the team up with Blade and Frank Drake and the other guy who are like the Night Stalkers. We got the Dan Ketch Ghost Rider.
Midnight Suns. A lot of
Midnight Suns. Yeah, that's right, which is great too. We got the Dan Ketch Ghost Rider. We got all these sort of horror characters becoming heroes. One series of which was the Darkhold comic, which actually I really liked as a kid. I had the collection. And I'm going to reread it soon. Actually, probably over Halloween. It'll be a good Halloween read. But it's basically it's a good idea for a series in which the Darkhold book itself, they also known as the Book of Sins, this weird little demon that kind of looks like a little person, takes the pages and gives them to random people in their lives who are down in their luck or upset or in a low place. And basically the page will give them what they want, but also pervert it in some way and make it, it's a real monkey's paw situation. So,
wasn't
there's
it
a lot
called
of
Tales from the Darkhold? Isn't it? Something
no,
like
it's just called Darkhold Pages from the Book of Sins. It was the full title.
Oh, okay.
But then there's a government agency headed by these three people. It's probably because X-Files was popular and this was Marvel's answer to it, that would go off and try to hunt down these pages and find this guy distributing them. There's just a kind of the hard-edged FBI agent, doesn't really buy all this stuff, but has to accept it. There's a sort of a woman that comes from a long line of magicians or people that can see the other side, Montesi, and then a woman who is kind of connected to being a demon of some kind. But the more interesting thing on this series was they do a lot of cameos, and one of them was Sabretooth, who turned out to be a friend of the main character, not a friend, rather, an old enemy of the main character, the FBI agent who worked on some kind of a black ops team with Creed back in the day. So like everything, we have to make everything connected, and it's kind of, and those episodes were kind of fun too. And that one, I believe they do actually fight the demon Chthon, who created the Book of Sins, or some connection to it whatsoever. And they brought it back here and there throughout the series. I believe in Jason Aaron's run on Doctor Strange, it came back as well. But and it was a big part of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series, but that's in a separate universe, I think, now with the new continuity, since it got played up in the in WandaVision. But yeah, so it seems like they're leaning hard into some of the horror elements of the Marvel universe, and I'm very excited about it. And it looks beautiful. It's filmed in black. I don't know if it's filmed, but it's black and white. The cinematography looks amazing. It looks like a real throwback to old horror films, and I'm very, very excited about it. So
Early
your homework to watch that too.
Really good too.
Oh, are they good? So yeah, that's your homework as well. Watch the next.
I think they'll roll. I think they'll roll Man-Thing and Werewolf by Night into the Midnight Suns. I think we'll get a Midnight.
We're getting a video game
announcement for in like Phase 6 or something.
That'd be cool.
Blade and those two, and they'll add some others. Maybe even Scarlet.
There's
Witch.
so many cool horror characters.
There's the Living Mummy.
Simon Garth, the zombie.
There's Frankenstein's monsters actually in Marvel Universe on that.
Sure
team.
Is, and he's royalty free. Anybody can make a comic.
Manphibian.
Ooh, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, Amphibian. Cool.
There is a really good comics. Yeah, we're getting off track here, but there is a really, really. If you're looking for horror themed comic set in the Marvel Universe, there's a great. I think it's an Elseworld story. I don't know if it fits within the regular Marvel continuity or not, but it's a horror comic based around the Submariner. And like a team stuck in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean and something trying to get in. And I think Pat Milligan wrote it. It's somebody Peter Milligan wrote it, I believe so. I'm getting Pat the creator of Martial Law, which is an obscure English comic, Pat Mills, mixed up with Peter Milligan. I think it was Submarine. Let me just look it up, but it was a really good little comic. I have the single issue somewhere. It's called The Depths, Submariner: The Depths by Peter Milligan.
Interesting.
I'll read you the brief synopsis. It is in the 1950s, the age of nuclear science and mythbuster, Dr. Randall Stein embarks on a dangerous deep-sea quest to disprove the existence of the legendary underwater city of Atlantis. It's very, very good, and there's even a scene when you finally see basically Namor standing in like the shadow when he's revealed, and it looks gorgeous. So check it out. It's 1950s to get some of that Cold War stuff, but it's a really good little horror comic that kind of does a different spin on a familiar character, which is always fun. Lots of recommendations today.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, if you're going into horror comics, I had like all the old EC horror comics, like those comics had different stories, but different creators. Wally Wood, Bernie Wrightson. Bernie they've all been collected. Like they just put a bunch of the Bernie Wrightsons in a book, or a bunch of the Wally Woods in a book, in these beautiful hardcover formats. I have quite a few of them, but there's a lot still out there that I don't have. And
did you read Spider-Man Hooky?
No,
it's one of the original Marvel graphic novels.
Oh yes, I'm familiar.
Drawn by Bernie Wrightson.
Although, if you want a fun Spider-Man horror book, read the Tangled Web Spider-Man series. Garth Ennis did a 2-part story in which Spider-Man deals with his. Do you have it there?
I have Hooky.
Oh, Garth Ennis does this horribly disturbing story where a bully named Carl something, I can't remember his last, Carl King, who bullied Peter as well, like along with Flash, but he was a much more kind of darker version of a bully, like less lighthearted and certainly more gleeful in his punishment of Peter. He sees Peter get bit by the bug back in the day. Oh yes, I didn't feel.
So he's got all this crazy Bernie Wrightson art. And stuff.
It's weird seeing Wrightson draw Spider-Man.
It is weird. It's just like they stick Spider-Man into it.
But this villain, he's just like a punk kid. Sees Peter get bit by the spider during the thing. Doesn't think much of it, but then sees Spider-Man pop up and puts 2 and 2 together. Goes back to the science lab, finds the spider that bit Peter, because Peter crushed it and then threw it aside and went about his life. Obviously can't get bitten by it because it's dead, and eats it in order to try to get the same powers. And then he becomes a villain called the Thousand, who is literally made up of thousands of spiders that just form into a human being. And it's one of the more disturbing Spider-Man villains I've ever seen. And I'm very, like, Garth Ennis writes some pretty dark comics. It's the only Spider-Man story I think he's ever written, short of Spider-Man appearing in Punisher. But
it's very good. Comes back in the Spider first stuff as well.
I believe so. But interesting character that I think if I ever had a chance to write a Spider-Man comic, I would bring back. Because he is a really great horror character as well. Kind of like Swarm, but with spiders.
Yeah, spiders are scarier than
Still on hiatus for the show. I saw you put up the graphic.
Yeah.
It'll be back after the play's over, so we should be back probably mid-November because I still have to interview somebody when I come back. So we'll get that planned out. Should be fun, and I'm excited to get back to it. I miss it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good show. I miss it. Yeah, well, we just did a Debate 9 over at Locutors of Trek. Check that out. It was me and the two hosts of Enterprise at 8 over on Live Long and Podcast under the banner under which Locutors of Trek now falls. There's a ton of good Star Trek content over there, Live Long Podcast. We got it going on over there. We got
What is
reviews.
the Star Trek you refer to?
It's good. It's like
has it been on for a while?
Well, that's kind of new.
Okay.
Kind of new. It'll catch on, I think, though. I think it's about to catch on.
I have been starting watching the new season of Lower Decks, and I'm enjoying it. I've only watched one episode, but I really liked it.
The last one, I'm still crying.
Oh, you sentimental fuck. I love it.
Oh, I know. And check out Super Mario Brothers. They do. They probably have a Survivor show coming up.
They are survivors. They're gonna stop.
Check out Trivial Debates. Andre's going to be on
someday.
You're scheduled.
What? When I agree to that?
Like last week.
I have no recollection of the event in question.
Yeah, it happened. It's Andre versus me versus...
My esteemed colleague here has signed me up to wake up at 11 o'clock the day after my play wraps, after a full week of fucking rolling around the stage, getting beat up, being fucked up, emotionally tearing myself raw to play this tragic character.
Mm-hmm.
To get up early the next day after having a party afterwards and come on this show and debate stuff.
It should make you the favorite, I think. You're going to be all in the zone of like...
Oh, God, we'll see what happens.
Convincing the audience, you know?
Yeah, well, since I don't have to actually do anything going into it, I'm quite all right with it. It should be fine.
No, it's all good.
Can just rely on my my natural charisma.
Exactly. And all of these wonderful things are part of a union, you might say. A united federation of podcasts. More to come on that.
Details on that still to come? Okay.
Yeah. But there's a lot of us. All these podcasts we just talked about. And that movie one I'm starting. And I might even start a Simpsons podcast. So, yeah. So, there's lots going on. I'm just going to plague the airwaves.
And if I didn't have a job or a life, I would love to be in all these. It sounds so much fun.
Yeah.
We need more time. There's not enough time, Davan.
There's not enough time.
Can we become independently wealthy so we can just do this?
We're working on it. That's what our united federation. We're going to unite.
Well,
make money.
Send us money, people, so we can do this all the time and get more of us.
You can support this show at Patreon/X-Men Review Show.
Our OnlyFans isn't set up yet. We'll let you know.
You can be cool like Jaemeel and Ryan and Daniel. Yeah, support the show. They support the show.
Thanks, guys.
Anyway. Yeah, you guys are the best.
We love you.
Contact us on the Gmails or the Facebooks or there's YouTube and Twitch, and our audio only versions available wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, subscribe, review. We'd love to see some more reviews. It'd be fun. See what you guys think. And we are a proud member of that United Federation of Podcasts. Anything else? Any closing remarks there on?
Yeah, if you're a fan of Loretta Lynn, she passed away today, and that's sad. So, big part of country music history. I'm not a massive country music fan, but she was part of that old country that I like, the drink yourself to death country, which is the best kind. So, she had a long, lovely life, and it's sad she's gone. So, listen to some Loretta Lynn music if you're feeling nostalgic.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right then. Catch you next time, everybody.
Goodbye.
Cowards! Fools! Come back!
And come back.